In the vast expanse of the galaxy, countless civilizations thrived, each more advanced than the last. Among them, humanity was the newest addition, a young and ambitious species taking its first steps into the cosmic arena. Despite their rapid technological progress and growing influence, the other inhabitants of the universe viewed humans as primitive and harmless, a mere curiosity in the grand scheme of things. The Galactic Council, a governing body comprised of the most powerful alien races, watched with amusement as the human ambassador took the stage. The ambassador, a tall, slender man with piercing blue eyes, stood before the council, his voice filled with a mix of determination and caution. "Esteemed members of the Galactic Council," he began, his words echoing through the cavernous chamber. "On behalf of humanity, I come to you today with a message of peace and cooperation. We seek to forge alliances, to learn from your wisdom, and to contribute to the greater good of the universe." The council members listened politely, their expressions ranging from indifference to mild interest. The human ambassador paused, his gaze sweeping across the room before he continued. "However, I must also deliver a warning," he said, his tone becoming grave. "Please don't make us mad." A ripple of laughter spread through the council, the alien representatives exchanging amused glances. The notion of humanity posing any sort of threat to their advanced civilizations seemed preposterous. The human ambassador remained stoic, his eyes fixed on the council members. "I understand your skepticism," he acknowledged, "but I implore you to heed my words. Humanity may be young and inexperienced compared to the great powers in this room, but we possess an unwavering determination and a fierce loyalty to our own. If provoked, we will stop at nothing to defend ourselves and those we hold dear." The laughter faded, replaced by a mixture of surprise and curiosity. The ambassador's words carried a weight that the council members couldn't quite dismiss. Some leaned forward in their seats, intrigued by the human's audacity. "We come in peace," the ambassador reiterated, his voice strong and clear. "But make no mistake, we will not be trifled with. Humanity has endured countless challenges and emerged stronger each time. We have a history of defying the odds and accomplishing the impossible." The council members murmured amongst themselves, some dismissive, others thoughtful. The human ambassador stood his ground, his eyes filled with a quiet intensity. "I ask you to consider my words carefully," he said. "Treat us with respect, and you will find us to be valuable allies. Underestimate us at your own peril." With that, the ambassador stepped down from the stage, leaving the council members to ponder the implications of his words. Little did they know that the ambassador's warning carried a hidden truth, a truth that would soon be unveiled in the most unexpected of ways. As the council adjourned, the galaxy continued to spin, unaware of the storm that was brewing. Humanity, the underestimated underdogs, had set the stage for a conflict that would reshape the very fabric of the universe. The question remained, would the Galactic Council heed the humans' warning, or would they learn the hard way why humans kept saying, "Please don't make us mad"? In the shadows of the galaxy, an arrogant alien empire watched humanity's progress with growing disdain. The Zorgans, a race of technologically advanced beings with a penchant for conquest, saw the humans as nothing more than a potential target for their next expansion. Emperor Zorgax, the ruthless leader of the Zorgan Empire, sat upon his throne, his eyes fixed on the holographic display before him. The image of a thriving human colony rotated slowly, its cities bustling with activity. "Look at them," Zorgax sneered, his voice dripping with contempt. "So weak, so vulnerable. They think they can stand alongside the great powers of the universe. It's time we teach them a lesson." His advisors, a group of seasoned warriors and strategists, nodded in agreement. They had long advocated for an attack on humanity, eager to test their might against the upstart species. "We'll crush them swiftly," one advisor declared, his face twisted into a cruel smile. "Their primitive weapons will be no match for our superior technology." Zorgax leaned back in his throne, a wicked grin spreading across his features. "Prepare the fleet," he commanded. We strike at dawn. As the Zorgan Empire mobilized its forces, humanity remained blissfully unaware of the impending danger. The colony targeted by the Zorgans, a peaceful settlement on the edge of human space, went about its daily life, its inhabitants secure in the belief that they were safe. The attack came without warning, a devastating barrage of energy weapons raining down upon the colony's defenses. The humans fought back with all they had, their courage and determination fueling their resistance, but the Zorgans' superior firepower seemed insurmountable. In the midst of the chaos, a young human commander named Ilara Voss emerged as a beacon of hope. Her tactical genius and unwavering resolve rallied the colonists, and they began to fight back with a ferocity that caught the Zorgans off guard. Ilara led a daring counterattack, utilizing unconventional strategies and guerrilla tactics to outmaneuver the Zorgan forces. The colonists, armed with makeshift weapons and an unyielding spirit, managed to inflict heavy casualties upon the invaders. Faced with an unexpectedly fierce resistance, the Zorgans were forced to retreat, their pride wounded and their confidence shaken. Emperor Zorgax, his fury mounting, vowed to crush the humans once and for all. As the Zorgan ships withdrew, Ilara stood amidst the ruins of the colony, her eyes ablaze with a fierce determination. She knew that this was only the beginning, that the Zorgans would return with even greater force. "We've won the battle," she declared to the surviving colonists, her voice ringing out through the smoke-filled air. "But the war has just begun. We must send word to Earth, to let them know what has happened here. Humanity must unite if we are to survive this threat." The colonists, their spirits emboldened by Ilara's words, set about repairing their defenses and preparing for the long fight ahead. They had tasted victory against the odds, and they knew that they could not afford to rest. As news of the attack spread across human space, the anger and resolve of humanity grew. The Zorgans had made a grave mistake, underestimating the strength and determination of the human spirit. The stage was set for an epic conflict, one that would determine the fate of not only humanity but the entire galaxy. The sleeping giant of humanity had been awakened, and the universe would soon learn the true meaning of the phrase, "Please don't make us mad." As news of the Zorgan attack on the human colony spread like wildfire, the people of Earth were gripped by a maelstrom of emotions. Shock, anger, and disbelief gave way to a grim determination as the realization of the threat they faced sank in. In the halls of power, world leaders convened in emergency meetings, their differences set aside in the face of a common enemy. They had long suspected that humanity's rapid advancement would eventually draw the attention of the galactic powers, but they had never imagined it would come so soon, or in such a brutal fashion. As the debates raged on, a quiet figure emerged from the shadows. Dr. Lena Soren, a brilliant scientist and the mastermind behind many of humanity's most groundbreaking technological advancements, stepped forward with a plan. "We have always known that this day might come," she said, her voice calm and measured. "And we have been preparing for it, even if we didn't realize it at the time." She revealed the existence of a secret project, one that had been years in the making. A network of hidden research facilities, scattered across the solar system, had been working tirelessly to develop the next generation of human technology. "We have made breakthroughs that will change the course of human history," Dr. Soren declared. "Advances in propulsion, weaponry, and defensive systems that will allow us to stand toe-to-toe with any alien race in the galaxy." The world leaders listened in stunned silence as Dr. Soren outlined her plan. The resources of the entire planet would be pooled, every available scientist and engineer recruited to the cause. They would work around the clock to bring these new technologies to fruition, to build a fleet of ships that could take the fight to the Zorgans. As the news of the plan spread, a sense of unity and purpose swept across the globe. Humanity had always been fractured, divided by borders and ideologies, but now they stood as one. From the factories of Earth to the mining colonies of the asteroid belt, every human played their part in the great endeavor. Ships began to take shape in orbital shipyards, their hulls gleaming with the promise of a new era. Pilots and crews were trained in secret, honing their skills for the battles to come. And in the depths of space, human scouts scoured the stars, gathering intelligence on the Zorgans and their empire. As the preparations continued, the Galactic Council took notice of the sudden surge in human activity. Some members expressed concern, warning that humanity was overstepping its bounds. But others, remembering the human ambassador's words, began to wonder if they had underestimated the potential of this young species. On Earth, Dr. Soren stood before a sea of faces, her eyes shining with a fierce determination. "We stand on the threshold of a new age," she proclaimed. "An age in which humanity takes its rightful place among the stars. An age in which we prove to the universe that we will not be conquered, that we will not be broken." As the crowd erupted in cheers, the first ships of the human fleet rose from their berths, their engines flaring to life. They set out into the void, carrying with them the hopes and dreams of an entire species. The sleeping giant of humanity had awakened, and the universe would soon feel the weight of its footsteps. The Zorgans, in their arrogance, had unleashed a force they could not hope to contain. And the Galactic Council, in its ignorance, had failed to recognize the true strength of the human spirit. The stage was set for a conflict that would shake the very foundations of the galaxy. Humanity, once dismissed as a mere curiosity, would now become the center of a storm that would reshape the universe itself. In the heart of the Zorgan Empire, Emperor Zorgax sat upon his throne, his eyes fixed on the holographic displays before him. The reports of the human fleet's movements filled him with a mixture of rage and disbelief. How could these upstart primates, these newcomers to the galactic stage, dare to challenge his empire? As he watched the human ships dance across the stars, Zorgax's advisors gathered around him, their faces etched with concern. They had underestimated the humans, dismissing them as primitive and weak. Now they were forced to confront the reality of their mistake. "We must crush them," Zorgax growled, his clawed hands clenching into fists. "We must make an example of them, to show the rest of the galaxy what happens to those who defy the Zorgan Empire." But even as he spoke, doubt crept into the hearts of his advisors. The humans had proven to be more resourceful and determined than they had ever imagined. Their ships were faster, their weapons more powerful than anything the Zorgans had encountered before. In the depths of space, the human fleet pressed forward, their crews driven by a sense of purpose and unity that transcended the boundaries of their individual nations. At the helm of the flagship, Commander Ilara Voss stood tall, her eyes fixed on the stars ahead. Beside her, Dr. Lena Soren pored over the data streaming in from the fleet's sensors, her mind racing with possibilities. She had spent years studying the Zorgans, analyzing their tactics and strategies, searching for weaknesses that could be exploited. "They rely on brute force," she murmured, her fingers dancing across the console. "They believe that their superior technology will always triumph, but they lack the flexibility, the adaptability that we humans possess." Ilara nodded, her face set in a determined expression. "We'll use that against them," she said. "We'll hit them where they least expect it, using tactics they've never seen before." As the fleet pushed deeper into Zorgan territory, they began to encounter resistance. Zorgan warships, their hulls bristling with weapons, emerged from the depths of space, eager to engage the human interlopers. But the humans were ready for them. Using the advanced stealth technology developed by Dr. Soren and her team, the human ships slipped past the Zorgan defenses, striking at their supply lines and communication hubs. The Zorgans, unused to such unconventional warfare, struggled to adapt. In the heart of the Zorgan fleet, Admiral Zorgax the Younger, the Emperor's son and heir, watched with growing frustration as the humans ran circles around his forces. He had always prided himself on his military prowess, but now he found himself outmatched by an enemy he had once dismissed as inferior. As the battles raged on, the human fleet grew bolder, striking deeper into Zorgan territory. They liberated human colonies that had been enslaved by the Zorgans, rallying the survivors to their cause. With each victory, the legend of the human resistance grew, inspiring hope in the hearts of the oppressed across the galaxy. But the Zorgans were far from defeated. As the human fleet pushed ever closer to the heart of the Empire, Emperor Zorgax rallied his forces for a final devastating counterattack. He would not let these upstarts, these primates, humiliate him before the eyes of the galaxy. The stage was set for a battle that would determine the fate of not only the human race, but the entire galaxy. The art of war, once the exclusive domain of the great powers, had been mastered by the newcomers from Earth. And the Zorgans, in their arrogance, were about to learn the true cost of their mistake. The void of space burned with the fires of war as the human fleet and the Zorgan armada clashed in a titanic battle. The advanced ships of the humans, sleek and deadly, danced through the void, outmaneuvering the hulking Zorgan warships with a grace that belied their power. At the heart of the conflict, Commander Ilara Voss stood on the bridge of her flagship, her eyes narrowed in concentration as she directed the flow of the battle. Beside her, Dr. Lena Soren worked frantically to analyze the data streaming in from the fleet's sensors, searching for any weakness in the Zorgan defenses. There, she breathed, her finger stabbing at a display, a gap in their formation near the center. If we can break through there, we can strike at the heart of their command ship. Ilara nodded, her face set in grim determination. All ships, focus your fire on that point, she ordered, her voice ringing out across the fleet's communication network. We'll punch a hole right through their lines. As the human ships surged forward, their weapons blazing, the Zorgans fought back with all the fury of a wounded beast. Their massive warships, bristling with armaments, poured a relentless barrage of fire into the advancing human fleet. But the humans would not be denied. With a coordinated burst of speed and firepower, they smashed through the Zorgan defenses, their ships darting through the breach like arrows loosed from a bow. At the heart of the Zorgan formation, Admiral Zorgax, the younger, watched in disbelief as the human ships broke through his lines. He had underestimated them, he realized, had failed to grasp the depths of their resolve and ingenuity. All ships, fall back and regroup, he commanded, his voice tight with frustration. We'll lure them into a trap, then crush them once and for all. But even as he spoke, he knew it was too late. The human ships were already bearing down on his command ship, their weapons locked and ready. In that moment, as the battle raged around him, Admiral Zorgax the Younger felt a flicker of doubt in his heart. He had always believed in the superiority of the Zorgan race, had always believed that they were destined to rule the galaxy. But now, faced with the indomitable will of the humans, he began to wonder if he had been wrong all along. On the bridge of the human flagship, Ilara Voss watched as the Zorgan command ship loomed before her, its hull scared and battered from the relentless human assault. She knew that this was the moment she had been waiting for, the chance to strike a decisive blow against the heart of the Zorgan Empire. All ships, concentrate your fire on their command deck, she ordered, her voice steady and sure. Let's end this once and for all. As the human ships unleashed a final devastating barrage, the Zorgan command ship shuddered and buckled under the onslaught. Explosions rippled across its hull, and its mighty engines flickered and died. In that moment, as the Zorgan flagship drifted helplessly in the void, the entire galaxy seemed to hold its breath. The impossible had happened. The humans, once dismissed as primitive and weak, had struck a blow against the most powerful empire in the universe. And as the news of the human victory spread like wildfire across the stars, the Galactic Council watched in stunned disbelief. They had witnessed the birth of a new power, a force that would reshape the very fabric of the universe. The turning point had been reached, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The humans, once the underdogs, had proven their worth on the grandest of stages, and the Zorgans, in their arrogance, had learned the true cost of underestimating the power of the human spirit. In the aftermath of the humans' stunning victory over the Zorgan fleet, the Galactic Council found itself in a state of chaos. The news of the Zorgans' defeat had spread like wildfire, and the once mighty empire now teetered on the brink of collapse. In the grand halls of the Council's headquarters, representatives from 100 different species gathered to debate the implications of the humans' rise to power. Some argued that the humans should be welcomed as equals, that their strength and determination could be a valuable asset to the galactic community. Others, however, saw the humans as a threat, a wild card that could upset the delicate balance of power that had held sway for millennia. At the center of the debate stood the human ambassador, his eyes gleaming with a quiet confidence. He had warned the Council of the humans' potential, had pleaded with them to treat his people with respect. Now, as he listened to the arguments raging around him, he knew that the time had come for humanity to take its rightful place among the stars. But even as the Council debated, the humans pressed forward with their campaign against the Zorgans. Commander Ilara Voss, now hailed as a hero throughout the galaxy, led her fleet deeper into Zorgan territory, liberating enslaved worlds and striking at the heart of the Empire's power. The Zorgans, their once mighty fleet in tatters, fought back with all the desperation of a cornered beast. But they were no match for the humans' superior tactics and technology. With each passing day, the Zorgan Empire crumbled a little more, its hold on the galaxy slipping away like sand through an hourglass. As the Council watched the humans advance with growing concern, a faction emerged that called for direct intervention. Led by the Zorgans' closest allies, this faction argued that the humans were a danger to the galaxy's stability, that their aggression could not be allowed to go unchecked. The human ambassador, sensing the shifting winds, stood before the Council once more. "I come to you not as a conqueror," he declared, his voice ringing out across the chamber, "but as a friend. Humanity seeks not to dominate, but to cooperate. We wish to take our place among you as equals, to work together for the betterment of all." But the Zorgans' allies would not be swayed. They demanded that the Council take action, that the humans be brought to heel before it was too late. In the end, it was the humans themselves who forced the Council's hand. In a daring raid deep into Zorgan space, Commander Voss and her fleet struck at the heart of the Empire's power, capturing the Zorgan Emperor himself. With their leader in human hands and their empire in ruins, the Zorgans had no choice but to surrender. And as the news of their capitulation spread, the galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what the humans would do next. The human ambassador, his face lined with the weight of the moment, stood before the Council one last time. "Humanity has no desire to conquer or rule," he declared. "We seek only to live in peace, to take our place among the stars as equals. But let this be a warning to all who would seek to threaten us. We will defend ourselves, and those we hold dear, with all the strength and determination at our command." The Council, faced with the reality of the humans' power and the ambassador's words, had no choice but to acquiesce. And as the humans took their place among the great powers of the galaxy, the universe remembered the warning that had once been ignored. The humans, once underestimated and dismissed, had shown the true depths of their strength, and the galaxy would never be the same again. In the depths of Zorgan space, Emperor Zorgak seethed with rage. The news of his son's capture by the humans had reached him, and with it, the realization that his empire was crumbling around him. But Zorgax was not one to accept defeat easily. He had built the Zorgan Empire through sheer force of will, had crushed countless species beneath his heel. He would not let the humans, these upstart primates, be the ones to bring him low. With a roar of fury, Zorgax summoned his remaining forces, the last dregs of a once mighty armada. He would lead them himself, would strike at the heart of the human fleet, and reclaim his son. And he would make the humans pay for their insolence, would grind them to dust beneath the might of the Zorgan war machine. As Zorgax's fleet moved out, the humans were already preparing for the final confrontation. Commander Ilara Voss, her face lined with the weight of the battles she had fought, stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching the stars slip by. Beside her, Dr. Lena Soren worked feverishly to decipher the last of the Zorgan encrypted transmissions they had intercepted. "He's coming," she said at last, her voice tight with tension. "Zorgax himself, with everything he has left." Ilara nodded grimly. She had known this moment would come, had prepared for it with every fiber of her being. "Then we'll be ready for him," she said, her voice steady. "We'll show him what humanity is truly capable of." As the two fleets closed in on each other, the galaxy held its breath. The Zorgans, once the undisputed masters of the stars, now faced an enemy unlike any they had ever known. The humans, once dismissed as primitives, now stood on the cusp of greatness, their fate intertwined with the destiny of the entire universe. The battle that followed was like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. The Zorgan ships, massive and brutal, pounded the human fleet with everything they had. But the humans fought back with a ferocity that stunned even their own allies, their ships darting and weaving through the Zorgan lines, striking with a precision and speed that left the enemy reeling. At the heart of the chaos, Emperor Zorgax and Commander Voss faced each other across the void, their ships locked in a deadly dance. For hours they poured fire into each other's hulls, neither one willing to back down, neither one willing to give an inch. In the end, it was the humans who prevailed. With a final desperate salvo, Commander Voss crippled Zorgax's ship, sending it spinning out of control. And as the Zorgan Emperor watched his once mighty fleet disintegrate around him, he knew that he had been beaten. As the last of the Zorgan ships surrendered, Commander Voss and her crew stood victorious on the bridge of their flagship. They had done the impossible, had defeated the most powerful empire in the galaxy. And as the news of their victory spread, the humans knew that they had finally taken their place among the stars. In the grand halls of the Galactic Council, the human ambassador watched as the assembled species bowed their heads in respect. The humans had proven themselves, had shown the galaxy the true depths of their courage and determination. And as the ambassador took his place among the great leaders of the universe, he knew that humanity's journey was only beginning. For the humans had demonstrated to the galaxy the folly of underestimating them, the dangers of dismissing them. And as the great powers of the universe looked to the future, they knew that they would have to reckon with this new force, this species that had risen from the depths of obscurity to stand tall among the stars. The final lesson had been learned, and the universe would never forget. The humans had spoken, and the galaxy had listened. And in the end, the warning that had once been ignored had become a truth that none could deny. When the humans said, "Please don't make us mad," the wise took heed, for the consequences of ignoring them were too terrible to contemplate. In the aftermath of the Zorgan Empire's defeat, the galaxy found itself in a state of shock. The impossible had happened. A young, upstart species had toppled the greatest power the universe had ever known. And as the dust settled, the implications of this momentous event began to sink in. For the humans, it was a moment of triumph and vindication. They had proven themselves to the galaxy, had shown that they were not to be underestimated or dismissed. And as they took their place among the great powers of the universe, they did so with a quiet confidence, knowing that they had earned their seat at the table. Commander Ilara Voss, the hero of the Zorgan War, found herself at the center of this new era. She was hailed as a savior, a champion of humanity, and a beacon of hope for all those who had suffered under the Zorgan's brutal reign. And as she looked to the future, she knew that the path ahead would not be easy, but that the humans would face it with the same courage and determination that had brought them this far. For the Galactic Council, the humans' victory was a wake-up call. They had spent so long dismissing the younger species, treating them as mere curiosities or potential threats. But now, they were forced to confront the reality of a new power in the galaxy, one that could not be ignored or underestimated. And so, the Council reached out to the humans, offering them a place among the great civilizations of the universe. They knew that the humans would be a valuable ally, a force for good in a galaxy that had known too much darkness and strife. As the humans took their place on the Council, they did so with a sense of purpose and responsibility. They knew that they had a duty to use their newfound power wisely, to work for the betterment of all species, and to ensure that the lessons of the Zorgan War were never forgotten. And as the galaxy looked to the future, it did so with a sense of hope and possibility. The old order had been shattered, and in its place, a new era was beginning. An era in which the humans would play a vital role, an era in which the universe would be forever changed by their presence. For the warning that had once been ignored had become a rallying cry, a reminder of the power and potential of the human spirit. And as the great civilizations of the galaxy looked to the stars, they knew that they were not alone, that they had a new partner in their journey, a species that had risen from the depths of obscurity to stand tall among the giants of the universe. And so, the story of humanity's ascent came to a close, not with a whimper, but with a bang. A bang that echoed across the stars, a bang that signaled the dawn of a new age, an age in which the humans would take their rightful place among the great powers of the galaxy. The universe had learned its lesson, and it would never forget. The humans had spoken, and the galaxy had listened. And in the end, the words that had once been a warning became a promise, a vow that would guide the humans and their allies as they charted a new course through the infinite wonders of the cosmos. "Please don't make us mad," they had said, and the universe had finally understood the true meaning of those words. For the humans were not to be trifled with, and those who stood with them would always find a friend and an ally, a partner in the great adventure that was the exploration of the stars.